with StoryOrigin, you're really building sort of your reputation in a community of authors. And that's how I view StoryOrigin, is as a community of what I like to call superhero authors, because, we're all sort of in this together and we're all helping each other out. And I think that really makes like the people in the community superheroes.
Welcome to the Author Like a Boss podcast, the podcast for indie authors who want to improve their writing, up-level their marketing, make money with their books, and have fun doing it. Now, on to the show with your host, ALAB Barnard.
Hey bosses, finding new readers and effectively engaging with them is probably the number one challenge I hear from indie authors. The problem is, if you aren't consistently getting new readers, then you aren't selling more books and your career isn't growing. But I'm excited to tell you that in this episode with Evan Gao, we chat about how to utilize his amazing tool, StoryOrigin, and how it is a solution to that problem. He shares with us how you can easily use it to grow your mailing list. And then we go even further and chat about how to actually engage with and build relationships with your newsletter subscribers. If finding and engaging with your readers is one of your challenges, and you want to learn even more about how to author like a boss, Ella style, and become an empowered six-figure indie author, come to my free masterclass. You can sign up at authorlikeaboss.com/ALAB masterclass. Hey bosses. Hello everybody. We are here today with Evan. Gao. I knew that's the one thing I forgot to do before we started the call. I'm here with Evan Gao, and he is the founder of StoryOrigin, a community of authors that to cross promote each other through group promotions and newsletter swaps to increase page reads, sell more books, or build mailing lists. StoryOrigin has already helped hundreds of authors find group promotions and newsletter swaps. Ooh, okay, Evan Gao. Can you please tell us a little bit more about yourself, how you became involved with authors, and the origin story of StoryOrigin? Oh, snap. Okay.
I like it. I like it. Yeah. So, I started working on StoryOrigin back in July of 2017. And I really was passionate about writing since high school. I've always written short stories sort of for fun. And then I was looking to leave my previous role and pursue entrepreneurship because it's something I've been interested in since 2012, pursuing as a full-time career. And I wanted to combine my passion for entrepreneurship along with my passion for writing. And after I left my previous role, I spent a little bit of time writing and I started working on StoryOrigin. And then StoryOrigin quickly took over 100% of my time. And so I haven't been able to really get back into writing, but I've really been enjoying working on StoryOrigin and being able to work with a lot of authors.
Yeah, I feel you on that, Evan, because I also love books and the written word, and also don't spend that much time actually creating my own.
Yeah, it can be hard. It can be hard. So.
But I do love helping other people, so it's a good trade-off for me. Okay,
right.
So can you tell us a little bit more? So I read about StoryOrigin in the bio, but can you tell us a little bit more about what StoryOrigin is and how it's helpful for authors?
Yeah, so you can kind of think about, you mentioned StoryOrigin as a place for group promotions and newsletter swaps. And there's other interesting things that you get along with those, like tracking links and transparency. But from a basic understanding, you can think about StoryOrigin as sort of the underlying infrastructure for connecting the indie author or just author ecosystem in general, right? And making it easier to connect with other authors in your genre and run cross promotions and sort of build each other up.
Okay, so what does it look like? Like if I was to go to StoryOrigin, what does this infrastructure look like? Is it like a Facebook? Is it like I don't know.
Yeah.
That's what I'm asking.
Yeah. So StoryOrigin is a website which once you log into, you will have an author dashboard there. And the first thing that you're going to see on your author dashboard is, on the left side, you'll see sort of the various types of books that you can have. So you can have a giveaway, or you can have a universal book link, or you can have direct downloads. Okay. Those are sort of the three underlying types of books that you might upload. And then you'll also see there a way to join newsletter swaps and group promotions. So when you go to look at potential newsletter swaps, what you'll see is essentially a list of dates that authors have their campaigns going out to their mailing lists. Mm-hmm. And then you'll also see along with that what book they are looking to get promoted, as well as how big their mailing list is, what their open rates are, and what their click rates are. So you can see, you don't have to have a bunch of back and forth when you're thinking about doing a newsletter swap with someone like, oh, how big is your list? How big is my list? It's all right there on the platform for you to see. And if you integrate with an email service provider like MailChimp or MailerLite or whatever, you will get a little verified badge next to those statistics so that people know that that's coming straight from that email service provider.
Ooh, verified.
Yeah.
That's fancy, Evan. Okay. Okay, so I know why this is useful, and you know why this is useful, and I love that because most of the newsletter swaps and things like this that I've seen are happening in groups, and it's like, I want to do a newsletter swap in a Facebook group.
Yep.
And then you're like searching through people and you're having to find who's a good newsletter swappy. You're like, is that book even related to my genre? There's a lot of research and back and forth, like you say. So I love that you're kind of cutting down the the busy work around making an author business.
Yes, exactly. So StoryOrigin tries to cut out all the time that you might otherwise, you can run group promotions. And when I say group promotions, that's pretty broad, but you can run like group giveaways or group sales or group Kindle Unlimited promotions all through StoryOrigin. You could also organize these things on your own website and build your own WordPress pages or what have you. But that's super time consuming. So StoryOrigin tries to cut out a lot of the manual time of trying to find or create or host cross promotions with other authors so that you can get back to writing.
Oh, look at you. Yes. Okay. So we know the benefits of the group promotions and newsletter swaps, but can you go through and talk about somewhat why? Let's go one at a time. So let's start with group promotions. What's the benefits? Like, what is it that authors are trying to do through group promotions, and how does that work?
Yeah. Well, so there are various types of group promotions on StoryOrigin. So you can have a group giveaway, which is to build your mailing list. And maybe we should even just start there of, why even have a mailing list?
I like it.
And then, maybe we should start there. Okay. So I mean, if you think about why even have a mailing list, and StoryOrigin is really built around helping you build and then also monetize your mailing list, right? And, of course, it's all focused around authors. Mm-hmm. So the reason that you want to build a mailing list nowadays is if you look at advertising costs across platforms, the cost per click or the average cost that takes to acquire, a reader or buyer is increasing, right? So if you had a Facebook page and you had 10,000 likes on it, only, 2% of your audience or something like that is going to actually see anything that you post. So to reach the people who have actually already liked your page, you then have to pay Facebook to reach that audience, to boost your post for those people to get visible in people's timelines. With an email list, once you have that customer's contact information, you always have that direct open line of communication to them. And some change in some algorithm isn't going to mean that it used to cost 50 cents to reach that person and now it costs $1.50. And so having that direct touch point with your readers is incredibly valuable because it's the only real channel that you can actually own.
I think about that because I've talked to people who use ads and No, I think I saw a question somewhere where somebody's like, I don't want to have to do a newsletter. I just want to do ads. And I was like, the thing when you do that is that you have to pay to reach new people over and over and over again. Like when you have a newsletter, if you find someone who's a fan, they sign up to subscribe to your newsletter. And then unless they unsubscribe, you've got them. Like you've got access to their email inbox, which is pretty actually really, really generous of people.
Yes.
But you don't have to find it again. Whereas if you don't have a newsletter, you have to keep finding new customers and paying to find new customers over and over and over again. So
that's right. Yeah. And yeah, I mean, the other thing to just mention there is like when you're talking about paying over and over again is if, let's say you're writing a series of books and you just released book 3, it's really difficult to advertise book 3, right? Because you want to be advertising the entrance into your series. So book 1. So you're basically always advertising book 1. And the people who read maybe the first book in the series, 6 months or 12 months ago, and you've just released book 3 or book 4 or something, those people aren't going to know that you've got a new release out unless you have a way to reach out to them.
Yeah.
And that's where, email can help you can help you sell read through on your series, right?
Yeah, I've seen, I've talked to different authors about advertising, and I'm not against advertising, but every author is like, advertise and then facilitate to your newsletter. Like every author. But the thing that I find really interesting is since then I've seen people who are advertising the third book in their series. And I want to just chat about that a little bit because I don't think everybody you're like, well, yeah, it's the one that's come out. Of course you would advertise it, but no, because you're advertising not just to people who have already read the first couple books in your series, you're advertising to everybody. You're trying to reach new people. And so people who are looking at the third book are like, they're going to skip over it because they either, if they haven't read your series, they're just going to skip over it to another ad because the blurb is different for a third book in the series. Everything's different. It's like, yeah, you have to have read these others. And it's just, Okay. Can we talk a little bit about newsletter swaps and what those, well, in fact, we talked about group promotions, but we didn't really say, we talked about why you need a newsletter, but can you talk about group promotions and what is a group promotion, or give us an example?
Yeah. So a group promotion is essentially, let's say I create a group promotion on StoryOrigin and I'm a sci-fi fantasy author. I'll create a group promotion that will be focused on that genre. And then I will try to recruit other authors to join into that group promotion. And it'll create a single landing page on StoryOrigin that has a list of all of our book covers on that single landing page. And then we all together promote that single landing page in our newsletters. So some of your readers will go to that landing page and see my book. Some of my readers will go to that landing page and see your book, etc. And those group promotions can be organized around either your reader magnets, which help you build your mailing list. They can be organized around your universal book links, which will help you promote your retail pages at, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Kobo, Apple, Google. Or it can be around getting more page reads if you're in Kindle Unlimited. So those books will link directly to your Amazon page.
Okay, so the idea is rather than doing all of the marketing yourself, everybody kind of carpools their marketing. Yeah. Like, okay, we're all going to go in on this. And so let's say each author who participates in the group promo has 100 people on their list, which is not that many. But let's say, but you have 10 authors that have 100 people on their list, and they all participate in this group promo where they're offering either their free book for their newsletter, like they have a free book or maybe a free novella or some kind of opt-in We're using a lot of lingo here that you and I are very comfy with, but I don't know that everybody else is. So I'm just going to get really clear.
Yeah.
So they're either, so all the 10 authors or maybe have like a free novella that everybody's offering, or maybe they're having some kind of just maybe a 99-cent deal or whatever. Okay. You could do whatever you want. Or maybe they're just like, hey, we're promoting our stuff together because we're all related. And then each of those sends out to their 100 newsletter subscribers, but instead now it's 1,000 newsletter subscribers, and 900 of those were not on your newsletter. So if they like your book, they might read your book, then they might go and sign up to your newsletter. Plus, if they like the one book that they read as your promo, they might buy more books, etc., etc.
Right.
Okay. Awesome. Yep. I love that. This is like my favorite thing about this industry is that competition is not like competing with other authors is not actually beneficial to anybody, whereas cooperating with other authors and building each other up actually builds the success of everybody. I love that so much.
Coopetition.
Yes. Did you make that up just now?
No, I did not. I did not coin that term.
Okay. I'm like, that's pretty savvy. Okay. So let's talk about newsletter swaps. Yeah.
So newsletter swaps are similar in that you're cross-promoting your books, but it's a direct one-to-one relationship. So Ella, you've got, let's say, a mailing list of 100 people, and I've got a mailing list of 100 people. What you can do is you can post a campaign that you have going out on StoryOrigin, say, I've got a campaign going out in 2 weeks. Here's the book that I want to get promoted. And here's like the size of my mailing list and stuff. And then I can come find you on StoryOrigin and apply to swap with you. And you can then either accept or reject that request dependent upon, whether or not you think it's a genre fit for your audience and a bunch of other factors, whatever criteria you want, right? So let's say you choose to accept my swap request. What then happens is we each promote each other's books in our own mailing list. So I'll promote your book to my mailing list of 100 people, and you'll promote my book to your mailing list of 100 people. And the way that it differs from a group promotion is, as I mentioned before, when you and a group of authors are promoting your books, you send your newsletter traffic to a landing page that has all of your books listed on it. So it might have, somewhere like 10 to 50 books in it or something on that landing page. When you're doing a newsletter swap, it goes straight to your book, whether that's, a universal book link where it's going to a retailer page like Amazon, or if it's going directly to your reader magnet or your free short story on StoryOrigin.
Okay, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Because I have heard that newsletter swaps are not as valuable or working as well as they used to. And I would like to know, I have my own thoughts about this.
Yeah.
But I would like to know your thoughts about this as well. So let's go with you first.
So I will say that it always depends. It depends on what genre you're in, right? I would say like 2 years ago, maybe, the romance genre kind of went overboard with newsletter swaps and people started sending out emails like every single day. I think that has decreased a bit, but I think, for that reason, newsletter swaps can be less effective in certain genres where there's a tendency to send more emails. But yeah, so
yeah,
that's not really an answer, but just it depends.
That's kind of my answer too. Here's my thoughts about it. I think the newsletter swap will always depend on the relationship that the author has built with their audience via their newsletter.
That's right. Exactly.
So if the authors really cultivated a good relationship with their newsletter subscribers, you're probably going to have more success with their newsletter swap. Whereas if all they're doing is newsletter swaps and that's all they're sending to their audience and they're just sending other people's promos the whole time, then it just starts to feel like a sales email.
Right.
And those are not going to be as effective.
That's right.
So that's my thoughts. I think you could probably do any genre newsletter and be successful, but you have to put the time and energy into cultivating that relationship with the subscribers.
That's right. So, and the super cool thing about StoryOrigin is that when you go and you look at newsletter swaps on StoryOrigin, you can look at the past swaps that someone has done through StoryOrigin and actually see the performance of that swap. So how many clicks did they send that other author? So yeah, I mean, and I think that is kind of mind blowing for a lot of authors who have organized newsletter swaps before, done them before, and they're just not used to having that sort of transparency. But with StoryOrigin, you're really building sort of your reputation in a community of authors. And that's how I view StoryOrigin, is as a community of what I like to call superhero authors, because, we're all sort of in this together and we're all helping each other out. And I think that really makes like the people in the community superheroes. And so you have that transparency that when you go to request a swap with someone, or when someone requests a swap with you, you can go look and see other swaps that they've done in the past and see, how many clicks did they send that other person, so that you have a feeling for whether or not you're sort of on equal footing, if that's a big part of your sort of criteria.
Interesting. I'm going to go a couple different directions. Okay, first I want to ask, do you have any recommendations for people who are wanting to build a good relationship with their audience via their newsletter?
Yeah, I mean, it's a hard question to answer, and that, it's kind of like what I was saying before, is it depends. I think good ways in general to build your relationship with your newsletter is actually, it comes down to frequency and content, right? If I only send you an email once every 3 months, regardless of how good my emails are, you're probably going to forget who I am. And I've run surveys among StoryOrigin authors saying, how frequently do you send your emails? And the response I got was actually a lot of people said, I used to send monthly, and then I experimented with sending either weekly or bi-weekly, and my click rates and my open rates actually increased when I was sending more frequently, because they knew me, because they didn't forget me, because I was only sending once a month or so, right? So yeah, that's on the sort of the frequency piece. I would say send more regularly than you might think you should, weekly or bi-weekly, And then 2 is on the content piece, is try to establish a friendly, sort of a friendly relationship with your readers just by talking about, what's happening in your life or what's going on. And then, you can always include sort of book stuff in that or in other parts of your emails, but just establishing, that people can respond to your emails if they have questions, or, ask your readers questions is a great way to sort of engage with your audience.
Asking questions.
And it doesn't have to be about books, right? It can be about just life stuff in general.
Yeah, I agree. In fact, I'm having an epiphany right now as you're talking, Evan, because I think a lot of people struggle with how to connect with people that they don't necessarily know very well.
Right.
And I was thinking, oh, well, in my head, I was like, Matt, pick one person. And this does work, you guys. If you pick one person that is on is receiving your email, that maybe you do know them, and pretend that you're writing your newsletter to that person specifically, it makes it easier, because it's not just the void of people. It's, I'm sending a newsletter to Evan.
Right.
This is what I would say to Evan. And it just happens to be saying it to everybody.
Yes.
But the other thing is, this is my epiphany that I'm going to start doing, is because I personally struggle with being vulnerable when I'm writing a newsletter. Like I struggle with the authenticity, like I get into some kind of weird mind space, where I'm like, oh, now this is a business official. You know what I mean? Like, this is official. And then I get less authentic and less vulnerable, because I'm like, oh, this is my professional side.
Yes.
And that's not what anybody wants. Like, they want the real you. But it can be hard sometimes. And I just now decided, because I'm like, well, when do I have the easiest time being the real me? And one is when you're writing to somebody, a friend. So that's a good way to do it. But me personally, I'm going to start doing videos for my newsletter, because I do a great job being goofy and authentic when I'm live.
Yeah.
So thank you, Evan. Thank you.
You're welcome. I totally inspired. I inspired an idea today.
Yes, you did. I'm like, this is what I'm going to do. I can just make little mini videos. And then once the video's made, I can build the newsletter around that. You know, because then it's like, oh, this is what I said in the video, which the video will have been more authentic.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome.
I like it.
Thank you. Some other good things I think to include, and this is just me kind of going off, Evan, but I'm going to go do it while we're talking, is things that you find fun. Like if you find it fun and it's in your genre, or it's about reading. Like I remember, like I love memes about books. Like I remember, like there's like some photoshopped picture of a semi truck, but instead of the back of the truck, instead of being the back of the truck, it's an Amazon book, an Amazon box. And it's like, oh good, my books are here. And it's just like a full semi of Amazon books. And I'm like, yeah, that's right. And those are the kind of things that your readers, because they're readers, will also enjoy. It's okay to just, if you see a fun meme or something about your books or reading, to share it with the people.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea for sure.
I know. Okay. Do you have any stories? Can you give us like an example? Do you have any like testimonial type stories that you can share of somebody who started here and now they're here? Yeah.
So there's actually when you sign up to StoryOrigin, like I send a sequence of emails, which is like, here's how to use StoryOrigin. Here's what you can get out of it stuff. One of those was actually is sort of a case study or story of someone who joined StoryOrigin really early and started utilizing it pretty heavily right off the bat. So it's this a science fiction fantasy author. His name is Martin Swinford. He started organizing group giveaways on StoryOrigin. So those are the ones that build your mailing list. He started organizing those pretty immediately after joining, and organized one every month for, 2 or 3 months. And so he built a bunch of relationships with other authors through those group promotions because he was the organizer. And then he wanted to get more verified reviews on his book. And so what he did was he scheduled a Kindle countdown deal. So, or a 5-day free promotion, actually. And so he scheduled that out, like, let's say a month in advance. And then he created a group sale promotion for that deal, and found those other authors that he had run those group giveaways with before, got them to join that group sale promotion. And of course, he set the time frame for the group sale promotion to happen during his 5-day free period, right? Because he's the organizer. So then what he did was also he organized a few newsletter swaps, one-off newsletter swaps with other authors for that same time period. So he effectively multiplied the sort of, blast of his email for his campaign. And then that ended up getting him actually his book to number 1 in his category for free books, because he was doing a free promotion and helped him get more verified reviews. And then I'll do one other quick one, but another author recently actually just hit the USA Today Bestseller list. She was a part of a group of authors that were in a box set. And so what she did was she organized a bunch of newsletter swaps through StoryOrigin, and I asked her about it because I saw her announcement like, oh, how did you get on USA Today bestseller list? Was StoryOrigin sort of a part of that? And her response was actually is pivotal part of her strategy, because she was organizing a bunch of newsletter swaps through Facebook groups. And she was like, it actually became difficult because StoryOrigin was so easy. So I started getting a bunch of the other box set authors to organize newsletter swaps through StoryOrigin as well. And so that's how they ended up selling, something like over 5,500 books, over 5,500 box sets within a week.
Wow.
Which is what you have to get on the USA Today bestseller list. And of course, I say that StoryOrigin was pivotal in that. That doesn't mean that StoryOrigin did all of that work, right? But it made a lot of what would normally go into running a cross promotion for box set with 10 or 15 other authors. It made that a lot easier.
Yeah.
So
I love it because it ends up being a lot of work.
Yes.
All of the things to do, and that you facilitate some ease around that. You still have to do the stuff, but it's a little bit easier and it takes a lot less time.
Yeah.
Which is awesome. Yeah. In fact, I had not signed up to StoryOrigin because I don't write a whole bunch of fiction. But now I'm curious, I have newsletters for fiction. Right. And so I could probably start doing things. I could probably start organizing group promos.
Yeah.
Even without having, because I like the organizing part, which makes me unique.
Right.
Okay. I have another question just to clarify. So there's a number of other services that offer like the universal links and things like this. And I wanted to see, is this part of it? Because some people use like what used to be Insta-Freebie and things to deliver their books to people who are like beta readers or advanced review copy readers. Yep. And it sounds like, and I just want to clarify that you might be doing something like that or not. Can you please clarify?
So specifically on the advanced reader copies or more just the StoryOrigin deliver book files?
Yes, both.
So StoryOrigin is like Insta-Freebie or what is now Prolific Works in that regard. StoryOrigin handles the book file delivery for you, handles any like reader tech support where they're not sure how to get it on their Kindle or iPad or what have you. And so StoryOrigin makes that download process for readers super seamless and handles the file delivery. In regard specifically to advanced review copies, one thing that you can do on StoryOrigin today is you can create a direct download. So that was one of those sort of three fundamental types we were talking about, right? There's the giveaways, universal book links, and then direct downloads. The thing that direct downloads do is they don't collect email addresses like a giveaway would, but a direct download you can still integrate with a mailing list and make it so that only people that are on that specific mailing list can download that book. Okay. So let's say that you have an advanced review copy mailing list for your what some people call a street team. Let's say you have a mailing list for your street team where you only want those people to be able to download the book. Well, you can create a direct download for it on StoryOrigin, integrate it with that mailing list, and then only those people will be able to download it when they put in their email address. Oh my gosh. And that won't add them to a list or anything like that. That'll just confirm that they're currently on your mailing list.
That is really awesome, Evan. Yeah.
Yeah, and I've got there's a bunch more
on your to-do list.
Yes.
I have something similar, so I understand. But even right now, even what you have right now is pretty awesome because you've got it all in one place. Like I've signed up for one of these other services that I'm probably going to now ditch and go to you because I'm like, oh, I could do that and all these other things. All in StoryOrigin.
It's a one-stop shop. And you might think, okay, well, if it's trying to be a one-stop shop, is it, are there so many features that it becomes overwhelming? Or, is it that the features are kind of worse than other places? And I'm like happy to say that neither of those is the case. One thing that I actually get really frequently from authors is I find StoryOrigin actually a lot more intuitive and easier to use. It does take a little bit of time to figure it out, but in general, the learning curve is a lot shorter on StoryOrigin than on other platforms. And then The second thing that I was saying is just that like you still get a ton of features with each one of those sort of underlying assets I was talking about, right? So like on universal book links, you can still add your affiliate tags and you can add a Facebook tracking pixel so that you can retarget, for your Facebook ads, you can still retarget people.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So, and everything is, those Facebook pixels are also GDPR compliant by default because you really shouldn't be adding them to like people who click on your links in Europe. And so StoryOrigin doesn't, because the value that you'll get from that is probably lower than, the value of making an additional sale. And so we don't want to add like a pop-up box that makes them consent to cookies or something like that, right? Like then you'll kill the sale. So it's better to just be not include it. And so, yeah, those like advanced and sort of professional grade features still exist on StoryOrigin.
Oh my gosh. Okay, Evan. So now I'm going to ask you.
Yeah.
As of now, what everybody wants to know is how much does it cost to use StoryOrigin?
As of right now, StoryOrigin is completely free.
Oh, what?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Okay, Evan.
Yeah.
Okay.
So StoryOrigin is, I've been building StoryOrigin almost for 2 years now. And I have not made a single penny off of it. And the reason is that I'm way more focused on building the best possible product for every step in the author marketing funnel, because that's how I believe that StoryOrigin will, win as a product in the long term. And I'm happy to be super patient. So I've basically had it in what I call an open beta period, where it's completely free to sign up. And the guarantee that I make to you if you sign up now during this open beta period is that even when it does become a paid product, which it probably won't be expensive, it probably won't be more than something like $10 a month. Even when it does become paid, you'll still receive free services for several months, even after that. So that's sort of the guarantee that I make to you. And look, if you wanted to do everything that StoryOrigin does, you'd probably be paying somewhere between $10 and $20 for at least 3 or 4 other services. So
each, it's like $10 for the one, $10 for the other, $10 for the other, or 15. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh my gosh. Okay. And where can people find StoryOrigin?
Yeah, so you can find StoryOrigin at StoryOriginApp.com.
That's easy enough.
Yeah. Okay. Unfortunately, someone beat me to the just straight StoryOrigin.com domain, but
it's all right.
You take what you get.
It's all right. Pretty soon, in a couple years, you'll be like, I can buy that from you.
Yeah. Exactly.
You're like, I am the StoryOrigin now. Yeah. So, okay. Wow, Evan, this has been really, really good. Do you have anything else that you want to share?
Yeah, I think, the only thing we didn't cover, I would say, is for people who are wondering, okay, like I don't have a mailing list. I don't know if I should start one. I've got a 3-book series planned, but I'm not even done writing them all. I would say I would focus on starting to build that mailing list sooner rather than later. And so that might mean if you're planning out a series, you write a prequel short story that's something like 10 to 20,000 words, and you put that up as a giveaway and start building your mailing list. And that way, when you have book 1 in your series to launch, you have an audience of people that are ready to go get it, or that are ready to join your review team so that you can have reviews for book 1 on day 1, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's definitely better to start building your mailing list sooner rather than later. And that's sort of the last piece of advice that I'd like to share with people.
I think that's great advice. I recommend anybody who wants to know more about that is listen to my interview with J.E. Schmidt or Jess Schmidt. It's episode number 3. She made $1,400 worth of pre-order sales on her debut novel.
Wow.
Because she built her newsletter.
Yeah.
She built her newsletter in advance.
Right.
And then when her book came out, people on her list bought it.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. So she tells the story about how she did that in that episode. And maybe she would even have more if she'd been using StoryOrigin. Okay.
I'll have to go listen to that episode right now.
I recommend to everybody to listen to it. It's still one of the most popular episodes because it's like, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Super enlightening.
That's what everybody wants to be able to do. But she put it takes time and effort,
right,
but it
for sure
works. So, okay. So StoryOriginApp.com. Thank you so much, Evan, for being here and telling us all about this amazing thing that you've created that is so helpful for people.
Thank you for having me on.
Awesome. Okay. And thank you, everybody, for listening. Hugs and happy authoring here at Author Like a Boss. Hey, bosses. If finding your ideal reader, engaging with them, and then turning them into superfans is one of the challenges that's keeping you from making six figures as an indie author, then you'll definitely want to come to the next Author Like a Boss masterclass, where you'll learn exactly what you need to do to become an empowered six-figure indie author. You can sign up for the free masterclass at authorlikeaboss.com/ALAB masterclass.
If you love the Author Like a Boss podcast, we'd love for you to subscribe, rate, and give a review on iTunes. Until next time.